The Berg Lake Trail is one of BC's most iconic hikes, offering stunning views of turquoise lakes, thundering waterfalls, and of course, the tallest peak in the Canadian Rockies, Mount Robson. The trail offers fantastic photography and world-class hiking, but this trail has been inaccessible for the last 5 years, the views hidden away behind trail closures. But after 5 long years of maintenance and reconstruction, the Berg Lake Trail is open.
Super excited to get on this trail and show you guys Berg Lake. So we've actually got 2 nights at Berg Lake itself camping up there, which is where the best photography is definitely going to be. We're there for 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets. There's a few little walks you can do from that campground as well, up to different waterfalls and different viewpoints. So that's where we're aiming to be, and that's where the best pictures are going to be. And I'm really excited to show you guys that. But I thought I'd also give you a little bit of an insight into kind of what I take with me on a longer trip like this. So we're actually traveling up to Jasper tonight to camp up there to make the drive easier tomorrow morning before we get on the trail. And then, like I said, we've got the 2 nights at Berg Lake itself. So we've got 3 days of kind of camping and hiking away from kind of a town. So we're taking everything with us. So for a trip like this, I do try and pack as light as I can, just because I don't want to be carrying a heavy bag. I'm already adding extra weight to it via obviously all the camera gear and video gear that I want to take anyway. But obviously we got some stuff like we got a lightweight backcountry tent for 2 people here. I've got a sleeping pad, a footprint for the tent to protect the bottom of it, and also a nice packable sleeping bag. And if you're into backcountry camping and hiking, this is definitely one of the best investments you can make. Getting something that's really warm but also packs down really, really small. You do have to pay a premium for it, but that just frees up so much more space in my bag and so much more space for camera gear. And then for clothing, we've got pretty minimal stuff again as well. 1 spare pair of socks. If the ones I've got on get wet, then these are my backup. A couple of spare pairs of pants, and then really I have my hiking clothes, which will be this kind of t-shirt, and then the trousers that I've got on. And then I'll take a base layer, kind of a long sleeve merino and a long sleeve merino trouser. And that's what I'll wear at camp. That's what I'll wear when I'm sleeping. And then the next day, I just change back into this t-shirt. And I mean, it's gonna get stinky, but the truth is, as soon as I put it on the next day and start hiking again, I'm gonna get sweaty. So there's no point really carrying a fresh one as far as I'm concerned. And then obviously we've got a few other bits as well to keep you warm. Got a toque, we've got gloves. I've got a down jacket, and I've got a waterproof jacket as well. Not taking waterproof trousers. I don't think it's gonna rain on this hike. Cook stuff, we've got a nice little ceramic pot here, and inside that we've got the burner, we've got a lighter, we've got kind of little tools and bowls and stuff all inside that. Water filtration, a hollow fiber filter, and a UV SteriPen to sterilize kind of viruses. Again, super lightweight, super small stuff. A little bit of cutlery here as well. Always take a multi-tool with me. It's like a Leatherman. Obviously that's great for fixing camera gear if you've kind of got things that break or tripods that break or you need to undo and do things up. And also like there's a sharp knife and stuff in there, so super, super useful. Obviously we've got our gas, and then really we've got a bunch of food as well. So I've got some dehydrated meals, some porridge, sweets, bars, trail mix, snacks, all that kind of stuff. I've got my hiking poles as well. They are definitely a necessity, especially if you are carrying like a heavy camera pack or a heavy backcountry bag with camera gear in it. Definitely worth bringing. And then as for photography gear, again, I've gone really minimal. I'm taking the DJI Osmo. That's what I film most of my vlogs on, especially when I'm doing more of like a hiking trip. It's just so easy to use and so lightweight and packable. That's what I'll be taking with me. And then for actual camera gear, like for photography, I'm taking a bit of a risk, just taking the 24-70 I think on this one. I might come to regret that. Like Mount Robson is this vast landscape, this huge grand mountain that sits on Berg Lake, and this glacier that runs down into the lake, and these icebergs break off and can float around. So it's a big scene, and maybe a really wide angle is worth it. So we'll see, maybe if I pack this up and I've got enough room, maybe I will chuck in a wide angle, but this might just about be enough, and I'm getting too old to carry loads of heavy stuff on these multi-day hikes, to be honest with you. That's heavy enough as it is. Then, filters, polarizers, ND filters, good for running water, good for cloud movement. Just allows a little bit more creativity when you're out there in the field. And then this little tripod, now I might have mentioned this a couple of times in a couple of different videos as well, but this is a tripod I was given by KNF Concept, and it is really light. Like, it's not the most stable, it's not the best tripod in the world by any means, but it weighs kind of less than a kilo, and I think my alternative tripod weighs like maybe 1.8 or 1.5 and also takes up quite a bit more room. So this is a great option. It's kind of like a compromise, but It's done me okay before, so hopefully this will do me okay as well. And we can't be forgetting sun cream, bug spray, bear spray, water, a toothbrush, and a battery pack to charge some of those gadgets. And then another couple of little bits of tech as well, just a head torch, a Garmin InReach, that's an SOS device that will kind of call for a rescue if we need it. But yeah, that's about it. Let's get this packed up and then let's get on this trail.
After a quick drive up the ICEFIELDS Parkway and then an overnight camp in Jasper, we were finally on the trail.
So we've got 21 kilometers to Berg Lake, which is where we're camping, 725 meters of elevation gain. But on the way we've got some pretty cool stuff to see. Kinney Lake's really beautiful, and we've also got Emperor Falls. So there's going to be two main stops to stop off for views, for lunch, and also for some photography on the way. But yeah, let's head out. So 4 kilometers in, we've made it to Kinney Lake, and you can see behind me there's a pretty impressive reflection. Actually, every time I've been here, which is only twice to be fair, but every time I've been here, this reflection is perfect. The lake is always still. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of cloud in the sky right now, which would have made it for a really nice image if there was a bit more cloud, I think.
Although I didn't feel the conditions were great for photography, we couldn't help but be in awe of Kinney Lake's turquoise waters as we followed the shoreline.
So just past Kinney Lake, there's a little bit of a fork in the road actually, and we've chosen to go across Kinney Flats. So when the lake's lower, there's no water here, so you can kind of cut across, and it saves a little bit of elevation gain and saves a little bit of distance. So it's a nice little shortcut worth taking, a little bit out in the open, out in the sun. And I think at certain times of year it's harder to cross because there are a few kind of creek crossings here. But after this, after we get to the other side of the lake, that's when the elevation gain starts, and Emperor Falls is towards the top of that elevation gain.
As we passed the lake, the results of the years of construction became more apparent. New bridges linked perfect paths and redirections up to Whitehorn Campground, which is where we stopped for a somewhat questionable but tasty lunch.
So me and my friend Callum, who's with us today, we actually did this trail kind of 7 or 8 years ago before they'd made all the changes to the trail. So they shut this trail down for about 5 years because a lot of it was washed out due to flooding. And it's been really interesting actually seeing how the trail has changed. And I think the part we've just come up on the way up to Whitehorn Campground is probably where it has changed the most. And to be fair, you can see why they've closed it for a good 5 years, because they've done a lot of infrastructure, a lot of trail upgrades, and they've actually rerouted the trail from Kinney Lake up to here to Whitehorn Campground. And like previously, the trail used to kind of cut across the end of Kinney Lake using a series of bridges, kind of cut straight across and then come up. But now there are a set of switchbacks that run along the right-hand side. So they've done a lot of trail work there. It all looks brand new, it's all really good. And then there are a few brand new bridges as well. And then when you get up to Whitehorn Campground here, we have a brand new bridge you might just be able to see behind me over there, that crosses over the river and then gets you back onto where the trail used to be. I'm not sure if those new trail upgrades have added any elevation gain or if they've added any distance. I think you're just doing the elevation gain at a slightly different time. But yeah, you can definitely see why it got closed for so long, and it's great to see it back open and fantastic to see some of those new upgrades.
The trail improvements continued as we ventured on, with several large bridges hopefully future-proofing the trail from potential flooding. It was after these bridges that the slog of uphill elevation gain began. Uphill, in the heat, past smaller decoy waterfalls, until we got to the real deal, Emperor Falls.
Now this is definitely one of my favourite spots to shoot along the trail here. You can see Emperor Falls behind me there, and not only is this a great spot to shoot, it's actually a really nice place to come and cool off. It's super hot today, and after that slog on the way up here, that elevation gain, you get here, there's loads of mist covering the camera, but it's nice and cool and cooling us off a little bit.
And this is one of those waterfalls that it's so powerful and so kind of thundering down the cliff that, to be honest with you, I don't really want to shoot it with long shutter speeds to have it run. I want to shoot it with fast shutter speeds to kind of capture the movement and capture the power. And I think as well with this, you can see you've got the peak of Mount Robson above it there as well. And shooting it from further back, kind of in the trees, and maybe even kind of standing really close to it in front, walking along might be a really cool shot, and getting some trees in the foreground. But let's see what we can get without getting too soaked. So what I'm trying to do here, I kind of set my camera up in between the trees, using the trees as a bit of a natural framing, waterfall in the background. And then if I show you here, kind of what I've got, you can see, I've brightened that up. So got the trees around the outside here, got the waterfall bang in the middle, and we've got the mountain peak atop. I'm hoping I'm going to get down there and walk along. So I'll set a look up with the shutter button, and then I think it'll be constantly wiping the filter or wiping the lens to keep it relatively clear, and then just shooting a bunch of pictures and seeing if those turn out okay. So definitely got pretty wet doing that, but I think the picture came out okay. And it is a super hot day today, so that was actually pretty refreshing, not too worried about being soaked through.
After the falls, the hike becomes more open, flatter and easier on the legs, with ever-improving views of glaciers until you're hiking under the shadow of Mount Robson itself.
So we have made it to Berg Lake and to Berg Lake Campground, and I mean, come on, just look at this view. You can see Mount Robson here behind me, and then the glacier running down into Berg Lake as well. And this is definitely where we want to be shooting sunrise and sunset as well. This is the main place the photography is going to happen. But the campsite itself here is really cool, and I think there's been a couple of upgrades as well. So I do want to show you that quickly. So firstly, just a little bit away from the lake here, we actually have a bunch of picnic benches you can see. Just a perfect little spot to kind of cook dinner and have breakfast with views of Mount Robson. And then there's even this big old cook shelter as well, with a few little washing lines to hang clothes to dry, a little log burning stove as well. Good little spot to hide out. This has been here for a little while though. Out the back, just down here, you might be able to see we've got the bear lockers, and then kind of views of Mount Robson just through there. And then a little bit of a short walk into the woods, we have the campground, or the pitches, where you can pitch your tent. Ours is just up here. And they'll actually show you the toilet block that they have here, which is actually pretty close to ours. I think this is new. I wonder if this has been put in since they did the renovations. It looks pretty new, to be honest with you. The wood looks quite new. I can't really remember. And the great thing about that toilet is it's kind of a compost toilet. It's got like wood chips, which you don't often get in the backcountry in Canada. So you add some wood chips after you've been to the toilet, and it doesn't really smell. It's almost a bit of a luxury for a toilet like that in a backcountry site. But obviously we've already set up camp for the night really. We're just gonna grab some dinner, watch the sunset, get some sleep. It's been a pretty long day. It was about 22 or 23 kilometers in the end, with a couple of little detours. And then up nice and early tomorrow.
We watched the sun go down, enjoying the views, and I barely took a picture, something I might just go on to regret.
So, all I can do is describe what we've done here as a big photographic mistake. You might be able to see behind me here that Mount Robson is now in some cloud. It actually looks like smoke. I think wildfire smoke has blown in last night. And stupidly, last night before we went to bed, before sunrise, it was perfect. It was perfectly clear. There was some good light coming onto it. There was a little bit of cloud in the sky. But to be honest with you, we were just so tired, and we had extra time here, more sunrises and more sunsets, that we didn't really shoot. We just concentrated on making dinner and getting to bed. And unfortunately, I've now come to regret that, which is a bit of a shame, because I think last night we could have got some good shots here, but that's just the way it goes sometimes, obviously, with this kind of stuff. We took the risk and it didn't pay off. We took the risk to get some rest. You can see Callum's just over here trying to get some shots this morning. But we're going to use the morning, I suppose, to scout some locations and hope maybe by tomorrow morning or by tonight that this smoke has blown through and maybe the wind direction's changed and maybe it doesn't settle. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, there's a little pond just kind of over here past the main part of the lake that offers a little bit of a reflection of the glacier. And then we have got all these rocks that kind of run along the shoreline here as well. So maybe we can use this to get a shot at some point. But yeah, fingers crossed it clears up at some point in the next kind of 24, 36 hours.
Low cloud rolled into the valley, as well as higher cloud blocking views of the summit above. Our day became a bit of a waiting game until we finally decided that we'd had enough and headed out on a hike.
So my intention was to come up and show you guys this viewpoint. This is the Mount Robson viewpoint. It's a hike that runs up past Toboggan Falls, and it's only probably 2.5 kilometers to get to this point. And I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself about yesterday, to be honest with you. Like, we got here and the weather was perfect. There was no smoke, no cloud in the sky. And stupidly, I thought to myself, well, the forecast is meant to be good for the next couple of days, so there's no rush. We're relaxed. We'll just have some dinner. I was kind of mentioning that last night, but again, you know, this morning we come out and the smoke has just kind of rolled in and sat in the valley. So you can kind of see behind me here how good a view this would be. Berg Glacier and Mount Robson behind me there, with the lake, Berg Lake below. And there are some good spots to shoot up here, but that smoke is just hanging around in the valley, unfortunately, and kind of obscuring what would be an incredible view and an incredible shot. But what I am going to try and do is pop a polarizer on the camera, because that will help cut through some of this sort of haze from the fire smoke. And then maybe we'll just crank the dehaze to 100 in Lightroom and see if we kind of get anything that looks any good. I mean, we have to try and get a couple of shots. And then I'm really just crossing my fingers that tomorrow morning that smoke will be dispersed a little, because I find when it gets colder, it does tend to disperse. So first thing in the morning, if the temperature drops, the smoke hopefully won't be as bad, and hopefully there won't be too much cloud in the sky. And fingers crossed we can get a good shot, because we've hiked over 25 Ks so far and we've got another 22 Ks to get back out. So hopefully we can get at least one that's worth it.
So we waited some more, the smoke slowly lifting. And then we found a cave.
I'll check this out.
Climbed some rocks, and finally the smoke cleared enough. As we waited for the sun to lower, the views improved, and on the hike back down to camp, it cleared even more. Although by the time we arrived, there was barely any light left, I wasn't making the same mistake twice. It was clearer and I had to take advantage of it. And I'm very glad I did. The way this night ended boded very well for the next morning. And what a difference a day makes.
So as you can see behind me, the conditions this morning are a lot better. You can see there's a tiny little bit of smoke haze in the sky, but nowhere near what there was yesterday. So I think because that temperature dropped,
the smoke kind of dissipated a little bit, which is what we were hoping for. So our patience has finally paid off. And I think later on the sun's going to come up from the left-hand side here and cast some light onto the top of Mount Robson. So first, I'm just going to grab the kind of big reflection shot, a bit of a safety shot, so we know we've got that in the bag before we experiment a little bit with some of the rocks in the foreground here. So as I only bought the 24-70 with me, I am having to shoot kind of a vertical stitch panorama to get the equivalent of a wider angle lens. This is this one time on this hike that maybe a wider angle would have made things easier. Doing a big sweep as well. Not using a polarizing filter, which would help cut through maybe the little bit of haze that is left there, just because you are going to lose some of that reflection if I do that as well. So taking about, somewhere between 5 and 9 shots, just doing a panorama sweeping across the lake here. So I'll get a high resolution, hopefully high detail shot with a little bit of light on the top of the mountain. So in the end, actually ended up getting some pretty good pictures from our time here at Berg Lake, and I definitely learned a couple of things. The first is just take the picture when you can. Like if the conditions look good and the option is there, just go and do it. Don't be lazy. Don't kind of think, oh, tomorrow will be good too. Just take the picture. And also be patient and don't give up. Like I was really pissed when we were walking up to the viewpoint yesterday and the smoke had come in and we had a bad sunrise, and I just thought, that's it. We are not going to get any good images here at Berg Lake. And I was really bummed. But we didn't give up and my mood changed entirely. The smoke lifted a little bit. We got some great pictures up at the viewpoint here and down at the lake, so I can't really ask for much more. But that's it, that's the Berg Lake Trail. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. We've now got a 22k hike out this morning, and thankfully it's not going to be in thick smoke. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.